if England win, there's going to be a movie made probably about this.
I mean, if there is a movie made, it won't be very good. But will I watch it 100 times? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. If it's as good as Goal, then...
Hey, the first goal movie's good. I maintain that. Yeah, we don't speak about the third one.
You're watching Football Trending, delivered by Joe and Domino's.
Hello and welcome to Football Trending, delivered by Joe and Domino's. I am a very, very worried Wayne Farry, and I'm joined by two very happy people, Reuben Pinder and Flo Lloyd-Hughes. How are you today?
Very good,
Brilliant.
very well.
Yeah,
Absolutely buzzing.
I can imagine. So we have our final after almost a month, after lots and lots of games that I didn't bother to count. Two teams, one which has allowed itself to be, emboldened by the dark arts of football, diving, other types of simulation, pressure from the crowd, just really, nefarious techniques, and Italy as well.
Very good.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I could not care less about accusations of embracing the dark arts. Like, ultimately, England with a better team.
Yeah.
Pressure from the crowd's not a dark art. I know what you mean, though. But like,
I just didn't know. This is the thing. England actually weren't that bad.
No, we weren't.
Yeah, in the grand scheme
I
of
had to come up
things.
with things.
It's like it's a little bit of a soft penalty. I don't care though. We deserve to win, and I was just so pleased with the performance, especially after going a goal down. The way they kept their heads and just kind of grew into the game, and played out the second half of extra time so maturely. Basically everybody again played really well.
Mm-hmm.
And if people want to say that Kane was diving, I don't think he was. I think it was a penalty, just about. But even if it wasn't, I wouldn't really care because nice guys don't win.
Yeah, I have to agree, really. And I think in the grand scheme of things, like, everyone does it. It's part of football. And I think Ian Wright said after the game that, that we've seen those sorts of penalties that Sterling won all season.
Yeah.
And I personally think, although in many ways it was soft and he bought it, I think when you're going at that speed and you're a skillful player like him, any touch is going to bring you down.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen a player like Eden Hazard do that the whole time he played for Chelsea. He was constantly winning penalties like that.
Yeah.
I just think it's the reality of the game. And I think, if it had been against England, I'd be absolutely fuming. I'd be raging, saying it's so soft, it's ridiculous. But I also think, England played smart. I think Denmark's game plan was really to, score early and sit back. And then once England equalised, it was just, let's just drag these guys to penalties. And then it's just a lottery and see who blinks first. But I think England persevered well. They were patient, and it kind of felt like there was going to be a winner regardless. I felt there was going to be a goal.
Yeah.
I was pretty confident even when England went a goal down. I thought they were going to come back and win it. I think I predicted 2-1 before the game, so I thought they were going to have a setback. But I just think they were just really smart and mature in the way they went about things. And I thought the ref was pretty generous to both teams.
Yeah.
Really. There was some, he was very trigger happy with his whistle, constantly stopping the game, dishing out early yellow cards. And I think both teams benefited from that. I think England won some pretty soft free kicks, Grealish, Saka, Kane, doing what they do best. But I think Denmark were the same. So I think actually on the balance, I don't think Denmark can complain too much.
No.
Obviously, they'd be gutted.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, looking at it, and I do think that a lot of what Kane did was diving last night. I think that Sterling did go down easy, but then again, as you said, that's football. This is what players do. And from an English point of view, if I were English, which I'm not, no need for me to just constantly stress that, but from an English point of view, would you rather be in the final and hear people complaining about diving and cheating, or would you rather be in the position that England has traditionally been in the past, which is knocked out in the semi-final, complaining about the team that has reached the final?
Well, I mean,
it's not a bad position to be in.
The former, obviously, yeah. I mean, getting to a final, we've never seen that before. No. Very few people at that game, watching that game, have seen England play in a final, because it was 55 years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't really care how we get there, to be honest. There wasn't any... There was no actual cheating.
This is the thing.
There's no actual cheating going on.
It wasn't like there was something, it wasn't like an incredibly dodgy decision or anything like that. And I think as well, the penalty and maybe a couple of other things have kind of overshadowed what you alluded to. Was just how mature and savvy a performance that was. Like, that was the sort of performance that you expect from Italy, that you expect from these top teams that
and
win
we were all
tournaments.
lauding Italy the other day
Yeah.
for how they saw out the game. And Denmark were time-wasting like nobody's business. Schmeichel taking about 45 seconds to do a goal kick, Holberg, Christensen, all dropping like flies and just lying on the floor for about 10 minutes to receive treatment. And that was part of the game. That was the way I wanted to play. It was so frustrating as a fan to watch it, but you kind of just realise that's it. That's how it works. And then as soon as England got that second goal, they were doing the same thing. And that's just gamesmanship, really. That's kind of the way football works. So if you're going to beat a team like Italy in the final, you've got to play them at their own game, really.
And aside from that, like with the ball, it's looking like away from the kind of soft free kicks and stuff. I thought in the second half of extra time, once England were winning 2-1, they were absolutely brilliant. Like,
they didn't to be fair, to be fair to them, they didn't just sit in the corner. They passed it around and were olaying for like 5 minutes.
Well, England bringing out the olays in extra time. Like, I never thought I'd ever see that.
So they weren't negative, and that's I think a lot of people reflecting on the game this morning who aren't England fans, and maybe some in the press who want to take more of a kind of unbiased approach, maybe are focusing on the penalty too much and not actually reflecting on the fact that England, I mean, Sterling still, when we were 2-1 up, wanted to take the ball past 3 players on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
His energy levels.
Even when he looked like he was spent and the guys standing around me were like, he's done, Southgate, you've got to take him off. And then 30 seconds later, he literally just skills up like 3 players and gets to the byline. So I just feel like, England actually could have just sat on the ball. But they were positive in their play right to the end and potentially could have scored another. So I think people obviously they're going to focus on the penalty, but that needs to be kind of respected. Like, wow, like they didn't just boot it into Rosed 800 times until the final whistle went.
Yeah, and even that would have been acceptable too.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like there was that headline from a Scottish newspaper that was England dive into final. But again, if I was an English fan, the 2 words that would stand out to me there are into final.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
You've reached the final.
I mean, I'm obviously saying this as an England fan, but I think there's a global annoyance, and it's completely understandable because of the arrogance of not only English football but English people and Brits in general, right? It's global arrogance, and it's geopolitical and it's sports related. So I think it hurts more than anything in the world for other nations to applaud us and be like, well done, you played well. Like, it will take a lot, even if we win this thing. People will not accept it. So I think it's part of that as well. It's like people don't want to be like, wow, that was a very good performance and England are the real deal. It's, you won a soft penalty, you haven't really played anyone that hard so far.
Yeah.
Like Germany was a big win, but if Müller had scored, it wouldn't have been different. Do you know what I mean? It feels like, I'm probably reading too much into this because I'm an England fan, but I think people often look for excuses, I think.
Of course. I'm looking for some right now.
And it will be hilarious if England win and it's, some kind of emphatic performance and people are still scrambling to be like, how can we hate England?
But this is what happens when you're victorious.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I'm a Manchester United fan and people hated United for years in the 90s and 2000s. And as a fan, I loved it, do you know?
Yeah. And that's what happens when you win things, isn't it? I mean,
exactly.
we haven't won anything yet, but I can understand why. Like, if you're no threat, it's a bit like when Scotland, Wales and Ireland fans, like, they actively root against England. I completely understand it because we have a chance now to win something and that would be horrible for them because we're rival teams. I don't feel that much sort of negativity towards those teams because they are less of a perceived threat. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I'm glad Wales won. If they were in the final, I'd be the same as they are now.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, just leading on from what you were saying about like English arrogance, there was a line in Marca today, basically, forgot the exact quote, but basically saying like the English have lectured the world on sportsmanship forever.
Yeah.
And now they play like this. Whereas if we hadn't like got on our moral high horse all the time about like this is how to play with
This
that
is
kind
the gentleman's game.
Yeah, if you
You should
played
be
like
doing
that
that.
before, you would have reached more finals.
Yeah,
before.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Like, we needed a bit of that nous in the Croatia game 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I think the benefit of this team, though, and why I think some will be more accepting is you've got Gareth Southgate, a nice coach, a nice guy. And we were talking about, like, nice guys don't win. And he might finally, like, change that perception and, like, really change the narrative around that. And a team of lovely guys who are really all passionate, family men. and are having a massive influence on society. So I feel like once you measure that up, it actually kind of makes it a bit, easier to swallow.
100%.
When you look at other global teams and you look at Italy and you look at Portugal and you're like, there's some nasty blokes in there.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be as like, oh, great to see the good guys win.
No, that is very true. This is a team of good guys and a manager.
You saw that in the celebrations after the game yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, I know this happens all the time, like players throwing their shirts into the crowd, but that video of Mason Mount giving his shirt to that young girl who just looks absolutely over the moon, like that's just like cloud 9 levels of joy.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so heartwarming.
Yeah.
And the way, like, you saw like Grealish and Saka kind of chatting to their friends over the barrier and like everybody singing Sweet Caroline, and just the way that Calvin Phillips with his Granny Val shirt on, they just all seem so sweet, and it's just so lovely that they can finally like have some real tangible success.
No, it's great.
You said that through Great Truth. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Great,
You love it.
It's really good. But speaking of Grealish, people like, I'm sure, I don't know what it was like you were at Wembley for it, weren't you?
Yeah.
I don't know what it was like there, but in the pub where I was watching it, like, there was people who, I'm sure they're not exactly football experts that were watching it, but they were like, what are you doing taking off Grealish?
Yeah, people
What
are obsessed with him.
Why are you doing that? And like, I think
weird.
someone said, did Gary Neville say or Roy Keane say? Somebody said it is a bit embarrassing for Jack.
It's not,
and
though,
it's like,
is it?
Was that not just? That's just tactical.
It's purely tactical.
And Southgate had a conversation with him afterwards, I think, and he was like, I don't care. We're in the final.
Yeah.
I could not give a toss about it at all.
And also, like,
and I think there's just... I think the nation have become obsessed with him because he's a funny guy. He's immensely talented. He was really good in the warm-up games.
Yeah.
And he was really good when he came on against Germany. And he's been a really good substitute. But last night wasn't the game for him. I thought when he came on, England dropped. I thought Saka should have stayed on. I think when Susie Grealish came on, it meant Sterling had to switch to the other side, and I don't think England were as effective. And I think if Saka had stayed on, I reckon they might have scored a goal in the 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just smart. Like, I don't think Grealish will care whatsoever. He knows his role. He just wants to win. He doesn't care. But I think, there is an obsession. I mean, like, the guys I was standing next to were chanting his name from, like, the 5th minute.
When the camera went to Grealish, like, warming up, everyone was like, you'd swear
even in
you'd
pubs
swear it
and
was
bars,
like
people go
Jesus
mental.
had risen.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my
crazy.
God, is that Grealish?
Like, I've got Grealish on the back of my England shirt, but I can still understand why sometimes he doesn't need to play. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was pretty mad. Although I might have tweeted from Football Joe yesterday, get Grealish on now as soon as we concede it.
Yeah.
But I was
I
being
think he was
tongue-in-cheek,
okay,
like,
but
he
he wasn't as impactful as he's been in the last couple of games he's come on, where he's changed the game. I think he was kind of targeted by Denmark. They didn't give him a lot of space to work with, but he won some good free kicks, which is what he's brilliant at doing.
Yeah.
He's really good at doing that.
And taking him off for Trippier Trippier who came on. Made perfect sense tactically, because it was like, well, we switched to the back 5 now, so one of the attackers has to come off so that Walker can tuck in. Foden had more energy in his legs. Grealish had probably played about 45, 50 minutes of football since coming on into extra time. So it's not like he came on for 20 minutes. Like, he got a full half.
No, he did, yeah.
And it made perfect sense to leave Sterling on, because you want somebody who's, quick to stretch the pitch if possible. Like, it made sense.
It's not the same as when, you come on before the game ends and then you get subbed on within 10 minutes of coming on. It's completely different.
It is.
This is a Euro semi-final with everything on the line, and you've got to see out the game. You're going to make decisions like that. So I don't think
that happened to Hudson-Odoi last season. He got hooked after like 20 minutes, didn't he? It's not the same. He wasn't. He wasn't.
In a
He
club
wasn't,
match, you'd be absolutely gutted.
Yeah.
But it's not the same.
And especially with all the extra subs that you have now as well. It's for situations like
mad that's like Sancho and Rashford didn't even get on, did they?
Yeah. So you mentioned it before, but like, obviously England hadn't conceded in this tournament, and the question was on a lot of people's lips, that great unknown, what happens if we go behind? That we is what that person was saying, not me. But what would happen if England go behind? Will they know how to recover? Will the heads go down? And just the complete opposite happened.
Yeah, the only thing I would say, I think Pickford lost his head a little bit. Pickford was a bit all over the place.
Happened in the previous
There was
game
a hint of it.
And that's what. And I think
Is this leading up to a massive rave?
I hope not. I think
Il Revo.
The worry for me was always how will Pickford react if we concede, because he hasn't gone through the emotional process of conceding a goal yet until last night, and he can be erratic and frantic, but he also wants to be a winner, and he takes things extremely seriously, works hard, and it must be like heartbreaking when you concede, because he wears his heart on his sleeve, and I think he was quite all over the place after that. It was some pretty erratic kicks that he was doing throughout the whole game.
England got pretty lucky after that
Yeah.
one in particular. Was it went to Brathwaite?
He tried to throw it out and it went
Yeah.
forward. Yeah. But he also made some decent saves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I would go into the Italy game. I hope he kind of keeps his head, and it's like, if we concede, really not the end of the world. Because I wasn't panicking.
Yeah.
I was like, it had to happen sometime, and I believed that England were going to go out because they were by far the better team.
And we had so much time to equalise.
So much time, so much of the ball, and Kyle Walker. I mean, I've talked about him. I don't think he's been brilliant going forward this tournament, but man, he was good last night.
Best
Any single counter-attacking opportunity in that first and second half, when Phillips or Rice or Mount played a bit of a dodgy pass and Denmark kind of leapt on it, Walker would just be there cleaning up.
Yeah.
No opportunities, out the way.
There was that one chance where like our whole defence got dragged over to the left, and then the ball went between Stones and Walker, and he ended up basically at like left centre back, just with his like recovery pace. Like that's why he's in the team, even when he's not like that creative with the ball. Like he just has to play because of that.
Yeah.
But like, so while Pickford was erratic at times, although everybody else reacted to going a goal down really well.
Yeah. And I think that probably helped him, because there were some cool heads. I mean, I thought Maguire as well actually looked a bit leggy last night. There were some moments where I thought, if they find the ball to Dolberg, Maguire is done.
Yeah.
Like, there were times where Dolberg was just like sitting there behind him and then would just quickly move off his shoulder, and
Because he
Maguire
was getting in a lot.
No man's,
Dolberg had a lot of shots.
He just
And I know
wasn't getting the
wasn't clean.
supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But fair play to Maguire again. Like, you know, we saw it in the previous game with early yellows, and
Was disciplined afterwards, yeah.
really disciplined. Like, and it did seem that there was a level of kind of level-headedness and a coolness.
And just quality. Do you know what I mean? Like
this is it.
There was that one moment that I mentioned to you earlier where I think the ball got fizzed into one of Denmark's forwards at kind of like knee height, and he nipped in front of him, intercepted it, then with his second touch dribbled past another player, and then with his third played a line-breaking pass. And I just thought, well, Tyrone Mings doesn't do that. No. Maguire was just, he did look leggy, but he was brilliant.
Yeah. Before we move on to discussing the final, which obviously we have to do, a word for Harry Kane, like, who has... Like, one of the moments that stood out to me last night was not even the goal, but it was like late on in the game, crossfield pass, and he was like on the right, and he just took it down on his left foot.
Yes,
like,
what a
nothing.
touch.
Like, it was
and
nothing.
then he won a foul, didn't he?
Yeah. Then he won, like, he just fell to his knees, you know?
He's really good.
He's really, really good.
He's really
He
good.
did it throughout the entirety of the World Cup.
Yeah.
If you remember in the World Cup, all he did was win free kicks because he had no support,
Yeah.
and score tap-ins or penalties.
Yeah.
And that's what he does. And yeah, that was Harry Kane at his best.
But doesn't it show why it was right for Southgate to keep his faith?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of
But just
course,
because
You can't drop one of the best players in the world.
No.
You just can't. It's ridiculous that was ever, considered. But that penalty was so out of character, because normally you just see him smash it in the top corner.
Yeah, this is
And
exactly.
he normally
Absolutely
goes the
smashing
other
top
side as well.
corner.
doesn't he?
Yeah.
But I was getting proper traumatic flashbacks to 2019 Women's World Cup in Lyon. Steph Houghton stepping up.
Yeah.
Penalty. Very similar. Terrible. I think she went to her right. Alyssa Nair, USA, saves it. And I was like, I can't go through this again, because it was so similar. Like, both captains of England,
Yeah.
a lot of pressure, game-changing moments. And Schmeichel had a very good game.
Yeah, he was
so
very
I
good.
feel sorry for the guy, because he could have been the hero. Like, that would have been a bloody good story.
Yeah,
Oh,
he made
absolutely.
a couple of brilliant saves against Sterling, didn't he?
That
And-
Maguire header, that was literally
Yeah.
about to go in. He
Yeah.
just got his claw to it. So,
That's
yeah.
seconds, though.
I would say that's how England are luckier, not even winning the penalty. I think it's the fact that he parried it straight to Kane is the lucky moment.
Well, if he had that laser in his eye, presumably someone from the FA, I assume, in the crowd.
Get
just
it out.
Yeah.
But I mean, he saved it,
He
so
did. He did.
the laser didn't.
I don't think
It didn't.
you obviously shouldn't do that.
No.
I don't think it affected him though.
No, I mean, well, he probably would have come out and said something
Yeah.
If
very
it
angry
did,
about
yeah.
it.
That that second between the save and the rebound felt like much longer than however long it was. It
I
felt
think
like
the air was
eternity.
taken out of every
Silent.
room.
It does kind of add an element of like an extra element of joy to the celebrations though, because if you watch all like fan park videos, everybody's like
Yeah. And then
It's like, it just adds that extra little bit of...
Mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was crying before he even took it.
Really?
Yeah, I was.
I saw her on
I
your
was
Instagram
crying
story,
so
actually.
much.
Some tears were shed.
Yeah, I was crying so much, and I was just had my hands like this, and I was like, please, 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 please. And I was crying before he even took up to Turkey, and I was like, well, whatever happens, I'm going to be in tears.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it was just an emotional rollercoaster.
Yeah. So Sunday's final, it's an interesting one in that this has been a tournament of lots of shocks and stuff like that, but these are the two best teams by a distance. Maybe not, like people will say that France are a better team, but in terms of results in this tournament and how they've played, undeniably the two best teams. What sort of game are we going to see? Is it going to be just...
I think it's going to be intense. I think it's going to be a boxing match.
Yeah.
Two very good defences. Two very good defences. I think there's not going to be a lot of space to work with.
No.
And I think it's going to be a proper boxing match of who blinks first.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be about not making mistakes. I am relieved having watched the Spain game, Italy-Spain game, because I think there's a vulnerability there. I think Spain were really unlucky, played it perfectly, and forced Italy into making errors. They pressed really well. They found gaps that no one else has really found before this tournament.
Yeah.
So that's made me feel a little bit confident, because I wasn't, until that semi-final, I was like, if it's Italy, England's got no chance.
Yeah.
But actually, I think if Southgate plays it right, and he has done so throughout this tournament, really, it could really be coming home then.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think he'll probably stick with a back four, because that's what Italy play, and obviously, like, he didn't feel the need to match up Denmark yesterday until the very end with the system. So I think he'll stick with a very similar team. Obviously, the midfield is where Italy have more, let's say, quality on the ball. But I think we have a more potent attack, and the defences, there's not a lot in it. Like, their centre-backs are obviously very old and experienced and still very good. But, like, ours are pretty good as well.
We can beat them for pace.
Our fullbacks are better than theirs, now that Spinazzola's out. So I think it will be cagey, tense. Italy will dominate most of the ball. But if we have, like, 3 one-on-one battles in midfield where we stick Mount on Jorginho and just stick to him like glue, Rice and Phillips take one of Barella and Verratti each, and it's very much just like, don't let them turn, don't let them any space.
Yeah.
Then it could work. But, like, we're going to probably see, like the goal, like the equaliser yesterday, where Kane drops deep and tries to play the wingers in behind. I think that's where we can hurt them. Looks like if you get Sterling, and I imagine Saka will start again, like running at those inside channels at the slow centre backs, then that'll be where we can hurt them.
I also think what's really nice about this final is it's a matchup of two teams who have been on an amazing journey. Think about Italy not even qualifying for the last World Cup. The journey that Mancini's taking them on. And so much of that is about culture. And England have been on the same sort of journey about basically, like, loving yourselves again. It's a very kind of, like, therapy, you know, RuPaul's Drag Race. If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anyone else, right? And I think that's what's fantastic about this final is you've got two teams who have been on such a lovely, heartwarming journey. And now they get to fight it out. For the top prize. And I just think that's really great, because that's what you want to see. I think last Euros, what was heartbreaking is France losing it in that way at home. And, like, their destiny, that you felt like it was going to happen. Obviously, they went along and won the World Cup, so eventually it kind of all worked out. But, like, it felt like it wasn't meant to go down like that.
No.
But I feel like whoever wins on Sunday, obviously I want England to win, but whoever wins, it's kind of like football's the real winner, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially.
Also, they've had an extra day's rest. Let's get our excuses in early.
That's true. But they did go to penalties for that.
Yeah, true. In a way, last night's kind of, you know, the super. I'm not gonna say cheating anymore. The game management from last night, it came at the perfect time, considering Italy are the opponents, because they are obviously just the masters of that. You know, Chiellini essentially bullying Jordi Alba before the penalty shootout. I don't approve of bullying, but it was very, very effective, whatever he was doing. Like, in that sense, it's almost a good thing that England kind of showed that side to their game last night, because there's going to be a lot of that.
I just hope there's no head loss, because there was a moment yesterday, wasn't there, when Mount started kind of squaring up to somebody, and I was like, please, mate.
It's the younger players you've got to worry about, isn't it? Like Harry Maguire, I'm not worried about. Harry Kane, I'm not worried about. Sterling never gets involved in those kind of things, but it's the younger players you're like,
Rice.
Just, Rice and even though Philip's not that young, he's what, like 25 or something.
Yeah.
But he's coming into this like not with a lot of experience, and he's already quite an erratic player, but he's managed that so well this tournament.
He was a little bit too up for it for the Germany game, but he managed to kind of.
And so that would maybe worry me a little bit, is any of those kind of like rash lunges where you just lose your head a little bit. But I mean, it's all hypothetical at this point.
Yeah. So I mean, if England win, just had a little shiver. There's going to be a movie made probably about this at some point.
Probably, yeah.
Who do you think should play Gareth Southgate in that movie?
Oh.
Well, not James Corden, because like, for some reason he's like everyone links him to like any football movie that's ever made.
That's because of that Smithy Red Nose Day speech to the England team, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean,
I could see it going to somebody like Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
I don't know. He just seems to be in everything.
Yeah.
James Corden will make his way into.
Yeah, James Corden will get a cameo somehow.
Yeah.
So will Ed Sheeran, because he's also in everything.
Yeah.
Who's the actor who played Stephen Hawking in that film?
Eddie Redmayne.
Him with like
He'd
a
be good,
fake
actually.
beard would be
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
good.
He'd be good.
That's a great question. That's
People
a hard
say
one,
I
actually.
look like him.
Yeah.
Put yourself up for it. Shoot your
There
shot.
you go. Yeah.
I'll go for it.
Okay, so neither of you give me an answer.
I need to think about that
that's
one,
fine.
because there
We
is
can think-
someone.
yeah.
Even with someone like Ben Whishaw.
Yeah.
He's maybe a little bit. He's quite softly spoken though.
Tom Hiddleston.
Yes, good shout.
Yeah,
You
that
know?
could work.
Yeah.
He's like a sort of very smart, respectable,
Yeah.
and very handsome man.
Yeah.
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 More handsome than Gareth Southgate. Sorry, Gaz.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't care.
No, I mean, if there is a movie made, it won't be very good. But will I watch it 100 times? Yeah.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
bet.
absolutely.
Exactly.
If it's as good as Goal, then
Hey, the first
Yeah.
the first goal movie's good. I maintain that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't speak about the third one.
no. And there apparently is a second one, but let's not talk about that. No. Okay, so I think I know the answer to this question. Is it coming home?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
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 Reuben?
Yeah.
I mean, it's already come home for me in many ways, so I'm
Yeah.
happy. Like,
Very
I'm-
jealous that you were there. That was kind of that's. the moment.
Yeah, I think that moment, like even if you weren't, like obviously, I'm so lucky to be able to go last night. And if I'd spent that much money and we hadn't have won, I don't know, I wouldn't have come in today. You're lucky that I'm here. But I think that moment for a lot of people who were watching at home or watching the stadium, that was it. Football coming home.
Yeah, I'm so glad I was watching it with my family.
It was breaking a curse.
Yeah,
It was
massively.
breaking a curse. So I think now it's like, yeah, bring it on.
Yeah. I kind of think that it's probably coming home as well now, to be honest.
This way, to quote Graham Souness, the stars have aligned beautifully.
Yeah.
And it's at Wembley. It will be really tough. I reckon it'll go to extra time again.
Yeah.
Imagine if you bet them on penalties.
Oh my God, don't.
No, don't, please.
I was reluctant to even say that word yesterday.
Yeah,
My
I just
mum-
kept saying to my friend, it's not going to penalties. It's not going to penalties.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. It's going to be all right.
My mum kept on telling me off. I was like to my dad, so if it does, who are your five? And my mum was like, no talk about that yet.
Yes, literally.
She can't handle them. Even watching Italy-Spain, they're just too intense.
Yeah, they are.
And I understand. I hate them. I was so glad it didn't go to penalties yesterday. I would have been an absolute mess.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm just getting sad at the thought of England winning, so let's wrap this up. Thank you both very much. You've been watching Football Trending. See you next time.
You've been watching Football Trending, delivered by Joe and Domino's.